tools in ARUtils that work with Revit rooms. ARUtils offers a range of tools to assist you in working with rooms within Revit. Whether it's right from the earliest days where you have a schedule of accommodation to the end of documentation, there are many tools that will assist you in the process. Things such as renumbering rooms, importing and exporting rooms, or creating the room data and views for your rooms. There are tools that make this whole process so much easier and faster than Revit without ARUtils. Some of the earliest work with rooms on projects will be a schedule of accommodation, working out what rooms are required, what areas they should be, what the expected contents of those rooms will be. Once you have that, you want to be able to get those rooms quickly and easily into a Revit project. So with ARUtils we have the Rooms Import Export tool, and this is a simple dialog. We have an Excel file that stores the information about our rooms, and we have some tabs to export a file or export the rooms in the current file ready for creation in another project, or alternatively we can export and import existing room data. So let's just have a look at the Export for Creation tool. We're prompted to overwrite that file, and the rooms are now being exported. And in a short period, the Excel file will be opened. And you'll see here that we've got a list of the names of our rooms. We can also specify that we want a count of rooms, and we can specify any other parameters that we might want. So what we can do is, let's just in this case get rid of everything except the base floor finish, and we'll just put in concrete. We'll use Excel to quickly populate all of these, and we'll save that off. So what's going to happen is that one of each of these rooms of this name will be created. So we can now say create. Tells us which phase it's going to be created in. Okay, and it's now created rooms. And if we go to the room command, you'll see that we now have a list of all those rooms that we just imported. They've automatically been assigned a room number, but we can now just say, alright, pick that one. We go there, pick that room, and you'll see that as specified, our base finish is concrete. So we could have whatever range of things, such as a designed area, which could then be compared against the briefed area. Of course, now that we've got our rooms in our project, there's every likelihood we'll want to quickly and easily change aspects of those rooms. So we'll go for Export Existing Rooms, and we'll do just the writable values only. So we can't, for example, change things such as the calculated area of rooms and other such items. So we'll just get a list of things that we are able to change. We'll open up that file. Okay. And you'll see here we've got a unique ID. That is something that Revit uses to identify rooms uniquely. Say for example we've decided that our base finish should be timber for all our rooms, and we're going to have a simpler numbering scheme. We're just going to number them 1, 2. So we'll just drag these down. So we can now just save that. and then hit import. Once again we get our progress bar as it's updating the various rooms, and it'll give you some information about what it's done for each of those rooms. And you'll see now here, for example, we've got a room and the number's 5 and the base finish is timber. Job done. ARUtils also offers us the ability to renumber rooms. So with the renumber command we can set a prefix for our rooms. So typically that might be a G dot or a 1 dot or something more complex. We can set a start number for rooms, and we can set how many places we want that number to be. So with 2 places it'll be G.01. We also have the opportunity to renumber any doors, windows, views or notes that refer to that room number. So if a room, for example, had G.05 and we used this renumber command, any windows that used that G.05 as part of their mark would also be updated at the same time. So we can just say renumber, and we can just go around picking rooms. And I'm doing this in a pretty random order, not ideal. And we simply click out of that, and you'll see here we get some messages saying that the old number length is too short for effective text note processing. That simply means because our previous room number was so short, ARUtils can't be certain that wherever it finds a 5 it actually means that it's room 5. We'll just hit apply, and all of those rooms have now been renumbered. We also have the opportunity of doing a batch renumber rooms, and with that command you'll see that we get a list of our rooms and the various numbers. Say for example we found that we in fact needed to add some more rooms in between 5 and 6. We can simply hit select those, decide if we want doors, windows, views and notes to also be processed, and we'll say increment those rooms by 2. So G06 will become G.08, and we'll just hit process, and then it tells us, well, in this case it's actually found some views as well to update, so it's keeping those all in track. And we hit apply, and G.06, which was over here, is now G.08, and we can now add in some extra rooms of 6 and 7. Perhaps we were going to add them in here, without any lengthy work required. Now you may also want to renumber your doors to match your rooms, and we can just say renumber all doors, and what it will do is use this naming format. So it'll be D dot, the room number, and then a dash, and then an alpha uppercase character. We can elect to have it as numeric, or so if we did that we then get a sample of door.11-1, or if we're quite happy not to in fact have the D, we could get rid of that. But we can just say renumber all doors, and it will go through and associate doors to rooms. So if we now go to this door, for example, we'll see that it's now marked with D.G.02-1. If we decide we don't like that naming system, we could go back, change the definition, and the doors would be updated again. It's probably worth noting here that we've got 2 doors in that room, so that's -1 and that one's -2. Sometimes in marketing documents, it's nice to have room sizes shown as rough figures, not using dimensions, just showing that it's 3 meters by 4 meters or 3.1. So in ARUtils we have room sizes, and this command lets us process rooms. So we'll just say process all the rooms, and it's assigned room size values to 14 rooms. Now you can also have a tag that shows those values. So I'll just select all of these room tags in this view, and we'll say room tag with sizes. This is an ARUtils family, and if it's not in the project, you'll be prompted to load it when you first run this command. And you'll see here that we're now getting rooms showing us the rough size. If you want to change how many significant places there are in that, you can go in and edit those particular parameters to show 1, 2 or 3 decimal places. One interesting aspect in Revit relating to rooms is the height of a room. So by default, when you place rooms in Revit, it tends to have an unbounded height or limit offset of 4000. That means when you pick the room, even though it seems to properly enclose or show that room, over in your room information, there's nowhere that actually says what height that room is. So with ARUtils room heights, you can select that, and you can say, for example, process a room, and we'll just pick that, and that will now update that top bound, and we'll just get out of that, and you'll see now that the top double arrow correctly goes to the room height, and also over here our limit offset now shows a true height for that room. And we also have an ARUtils parameter which once again shows the room height for that particular room. There are instances where a raised floor can result in that overall bounds not being exactly correct, but the ARUtils parameter will show up correctly, as in the height will be now correct. This is also much more likely to give you the right volume for that room. Whilst Revit's generally fairly good at allowing you to tag items, one thing it won't do is let you tag applied finishes to wall surfaces, or even applied finishes that are integral to a wall, for example. So with our tag wall paint command, we can select a family to use for tagging. We can say what type of value we want to use. So we'll just have the mark value, and we will say tag. And now we can go around picking a wall and a location for the tag. So all of those items we can now tag in that plan view. Another option that we have when trying to indicate wall finishes in a plan view is the wall finishes tape command. So when we select that command, we have a number of options here. Let's just pick and tape a room. So we've selected that. Now in this case we get a prompt saying basically that the M9 material mark has not yet been created. So we'll just say, alright, we're happy for an M9 code to appear on this tape. We could put in anything that we liked, and that means wherever M9 is used, we would get that mark on our tape. Now we have to pick a colour for that particular item, so we'll just pick this purple one, and it now goes around. You'll see now that we've got our M9 tape here. And we've got tapes in other colours that are indicating what the wall finishes are in those rooms. So we can do this for one room, or we can do it for all our rooms. We can, as the command suggests, say update all. So if we changed some finishes on a surface, we'd go back to this view and just say update all or update view. If you're familiar with rooms in Revit, you'll know that rooms already have a number of parameters that relate to finishes for that room, such as ceiling finish, wall finish, floor finish, base finish. Now, none of those are automatically assigned, and they really don't have to bear any relationship at all to the materials that have been used in that room. With ARUtils assign room finishes command, you can actually get those values filled with useful information or accurate information, as well as adding other parameters to rooms. So if we bring up the room finishes command, this will add parameters to your project and fill those parameters that I just mentioned with values that relate to the material mark and the material description. We can do it based on north, south, east, west walls, or we can do it sequentially around the room. Let's just process a room to see what result we get. Okay, so parameters are going to be added to our project and associated to the rooms category. If we now pick a room, now assign those, and if we go back and select that room, you'll see now that we've had some information inserted about the ceiling and the floor finish. In this case, we didn't have a ceiling or floor in place. However, we've got new parameters now, wall finishes north, so M43 plasterboard. So we can now use these in schedules quite easily, and if we change our materials, we can go back to our command and simply say process the room again, and those values will get updated. Alternatively, you can say process all, and it will process all of the rooms in your project. Rooms, of course, are enclosed by walls, and sometimes you'll want to indicate certain properties of a wall visually. Revit allows you to, for example, indicate fire-rated walls by applying a particular hatch pattern or colour. However, sometimes this is not very immediately obvious, so applying a text tape to wall items can make it much easier to see what fire rating, for example, a wall is using. So if we go to parameter wall tape, here we can say we want to pick up on parameters from wall instances or wall types. In this case, we're going to do wall types, and we're going to use the fire rating parameter. So if we say pick and tape, we can then pick a wall, and because this particular rating of 60 is already in the project, it just knows to use that particular tape. If it was a wall type that wasn't currently in the project, or a parameter value that wasn't in the project, we would be prompted to define what text we want to appear and what color we want used for that tape. Sometimes, for presentation purposes, it can be useful to tag rooms with 3D model text. That just means that as you go about your 3D model, you can actually see the names of rooms, things like that. So if we go to the curve text 3D tag spaces command, if we look at this side of the dialog, we can simply say tag room, and over here we can pick our room, and it's created that new tag, and we now have text spaced in that room, and we can very easily see, okay, this is the ballroom, even in a 3D view. Not one of the overwhelming commands, but can make presentation that little bit more interesting. Okay, we've created model text to give all of the names of our rooms, and we have a 3D view here. A nice presentation technique at early stages is to actually show your rooms and their relationships just via coloured cubes. So we can actually do that through the room masses command. And so with this command, we're going to take the shell of the rooms and create a mass which can then be transparent. So we can set how we want to color rooms, and so you could opt to do it by department, you could do it by heat load value, or the occupancy. So these would all be relevant. So we'll just leave it at name. We can set what transparency we want for those items, so more transparency over towards the right. So let's just say create masses. And so what's going to happen now is that these masses are being created, and you'll note that at the moment they don't actually have any color showing, and that's simply because of the presentation for this particular window. And once that's set, finished, we can then simply go consistent colors, and we now have a nice overall view of our project, but as geometric mass shapes. So quite a nice way to present your project. As you can see, ARUtils offers a host of time-saving features. Why don't you try it out today and start saving yourself time and tedium? Thank you.